On today's episode of the Kev BKA Beloved Show, it is mock draft season 1.0 coming up, but first hit my theme music. Alright, welcome in everybody. Do not forget to subscribe to the podcast. Rate us, review us, 5 stars only. Why you gonna rate if you ain't gonna get 5 stars? Come on now. Don't forget, follow on all socials at BKA Beloved. Subscribe to the YouTube at BKA Beloved. All the fun things. So before we get started with the mock draft, I got a couple caveats I gotta throw out here just so make sure we're all on the same page. Number one, you'll find I'm a lot nicer to draft prospects than I am to players that are actually in the NFL or in the NBA. Mainly because it's hard for me to critique people that I'm pretty sure are like kids. So I look at the bright side of these prospects in a way that most people, especially in today's sports media landscape, definitely don't. But at the same time, I'm not here to lie to y'all. If a guy is not a first round grade, he's not a first round grade. I'm not going to sit here and make stuff about the blue. I'll address critiques, but I'm not going to sit here and crap all over these prospects, you know? Secondly, I'm curious to see if something I like to call the Bryce Young effect happens in this year's draft, where teams are able to be a little bit self-aware and say, okay, we saw what happened with Bryce Young last year when you don't surround your rookie quarterback with a good enough core and a good enough staff around him. So instead of us trying to get a rookie quarterback and putting him in a situation to fail, how about we get us a bridge guy, or how about we trade back, try to get more pieces, and they go that route. I do wonder if that happens this year. There's a couple teams in particular I have in mind, but just something to watch for draft season as a whole. And lastly, I'm not that big on positional value. Like last year, I very literally have a video that says, F you and your analytics. You draft Bijan Robinson because he's awesome. I don't care that he's a running back. You draft good players. Spoiler alert, I have Brock Bowers going pretty high in this draft. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the draft. First up on the clock, we have the Chicago Bears. No, they did not trade their pick away, and they will be taking Caleb Williams, quarterback from USC. He's been the best prospect in this draft for 2 years now. He's been the number one projected quarterback since he came to college. I will perfectly admit my DMV bias. He's from DC, but I feel like all of us feel that way, so I shouldn't have to admit to that. However, he is an improviser extraordinaire. Once he gets out the pocket, magic happens, and he's one of the few players I've seen that has something I like to call the Steph Curry effect, which is if you watch basketball, anytime Steph Curry's running around off screens, the whole defense panics. Same thing happens with Caleb Williams when he leaves the pocket. You'll see secondary defenders that are 20 yards away from him immediately start to panic. Whatever coverage they're in, they're abandoning it, and they're just looking for whatever the nearest receiver is so that he doesn't find them. But I also think he's a lot better in structure than people give him credit for. Lastly, we have to address the Bears as a whole. And as high as I am on Caleb Williams, there's no such thing as a sure thing, especially with the Bears, who have pretty much fucked up the development of every quarterback they've ever drafted since Sid Luckman. But if there was ever a prospect who will be able to overcome it, I think it'll be Caleb. And with the now $80.4 million in cap space the Bears have, I have enough faith with Ryan Poles that they'll be able to surround him with enough to prosper his first year in the league. Second on the clock, the Washington Commanders, they'll be taking Jayden Daniels, LSU. I will not lie to you. Originally putting him at number 2 was based on he's going to light the world on fire at the combine. The morning that I'm recording this, I find out Jayden Daniels isn't going to be running at the combine or working out or throwing or doing anything. So that's great. I genuinely don't understand why he wouldn't, unless he's just conceding, all right, Caleb's going to be the number 1 pick. I do have 2 concerns, though, as far as it goes for Jayden Daniels. Concern number 1, he a little light in the cheeks. He a little light. They list him at 6'4", 210. If he's 200 pounds with 2 bricks in his pocket, I'd be surprised. But everyone compares him to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson coming out was 6'2", 216. And Lamar Jackson in 2024 looks like he ate Lamar Jackson coming out of college. So, hey, where that becomes more of a problem, and I laughed a lot when I was watching this film on this, the dichotomy between the way Jayden Daniels throws the ball and the way he runs the ball is hilarious. He takes more care of the ball than he does his own body. Of all the quarterbacks available in this year's draft, he had the lowest percentage of turnover-worthy plays with 1.6% over his whole career. So not just a spectacular Heisman year he just had, whole career, including Arizona State. But running the ball, full-blown crash dummy football. And for y'all that are new to me and just your first time watching me, that's a compliment. Full-blown compliment. Crash dummy football all the way. Think Marshawn Lynch, Deebo Samuel when I say crash dummy football, except he's about 30 pounds lighter than those guys. I do think that gets corrected pretty soon when he gets to the league. It's going to take 1 or 2 big hits. He's going to be in the same division as Micah Parsons. Let Micah get his hands on him once. I promise you he'll learn how to slide from that point on. Next up on the clock at number 3 overall, the New England Patriots take quarterback Drake Maye from North Carolina. Now, the draft comp I've been making for Drake Maye has been, if Baker Mayfield woke up in Justin Herbert's body, he'd play exactly like Drake Maye. He is the perfect mix of the throwback, prototypical, big, tall, white guy with a strong arm, signal caller of the early 2010s, mid 2000s, and the current era more mobile quarterback. He's the perfect mix of both. He had a little bit of crash dummy football in him too, though, except he's a little more reckless with the ball. I've seen a lot of scouts and a lot of the draft community says he's the most pro-ready out of the 3. Call me crazy. I just don't see that yet. There's some immaturity to his game, and I don't want to attribute the whole he went to North Carolina, look at Sam Howell, look at Mitch Trubisky thing on him. He's better than both of those guys, so we don't got to worry about that. All right, up next on the clock, number 4 overall, the Arizona Cardinals will be taking wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. This is the least surprising pick out of any of them. It's between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jamar Chase for the best receiver prospect this side of Calvin Johnson Jr. When I say he does everything well, like, I looked for a downside for Marvin Harrison Jr. I promise I did. I couldn't. He's huge. He's 6'4", 215 already. Not one bit of stiffness, runs all his routes smoothly, has hands like glue. I know AJ Green is the most popular comp, like the bigger version of AJ Green, but I'll be honest, and I know y'all don't want to seem hacky about it, and I know it seems lazy, but his comp is his dad. Imagine, like, he's a bigger version of his dad, and he might be faster. We'll see, because as far as I know right now, he'll be running at combine time. Again, there's no real sure things in the draft, but God damn it, he's pretty close. Kyler Murray needs a number 1 receiver that'll be there longer than 2 years. Number 5 overall, we got the Los Angeles Chargers, and they'll be taking tight end Brock Bowers out of Georgia. I don't want to hear nothing about positional value, and I promise you Jim Harbaugh won't want to hear nothing about it either. Harbaugh loves going heavy personnel. 12 personnel, hell, even 13 from time to time. More than likely, Mike Williams will not be a Los Angeles Charger come next season, and he has injury issues. Keenan Allen's not getting any younger, so they need to give Justin Herbert another big-time target. Brock Bowers kills 2 birds with 1 stone. My favorite line is one from Danny Kelly from The Ringer. He said, Brock Bowers plays football exactly like you think someone named Brock Bowers would play football. And quite honestly, I could end the evaluation right there because I'm not going to do any better than that, but I will try. I've seen him block edge rushers and carry the ball on reverse sweeps in the same game. He can run routes from anywhere in the formation. He's a versatile chess piece that Harbs is going to put anywhere he wants, and he's only going to be a better and stronger blocker the older he gets. This is a slam dunk pick for the Chargers. Number 6 overall, we have the New York Giants, and they're taking offensive tackle Joe Alt from Notre Dame. I know there's some Giants fans who want a QB. Daniel Jones is signed for the next 2 years guaranteed. You're not getting that. I know there's some of y'all that want a wide receiver, but this feels like the Bengals' decision in 2020, where they were picking between Jamar Chase and Penny Sewell. Only problem is Jamar Chase just went at number 4, but you can get Penny Sewell with Joe Alt. The Giants played 3 different quarterbacks last year. They allowed the most sacks last year with 85. That is 20 more than the 2 teams that are tied for second place. According to PFF, Joe Alt had a 99% pass block efficiency in 2023. This is a slam dunk pick. And obviously, Evan Neal's early season comments, they got to get him up out of there. If not, kick him to guard, but he cannot be their starting right tackle next year. And if Andrew Thomas continues to have injury issues, Joe Alt is mainly a left tackle anyways. Number 7 overall, we have the Tennessee Titans, and they'll be drafting Malik Nabers out of LSU. Now, I've gone back and forth between Odunze and Nabers, and I decided it really just comes down to fit. Will Levis likes to launch the ball over the moon. He wakes up every day wanting to take a deep shot. Malik Nabers had 9 touchdowns of over 20 yards last year. It was 2nd overall in the nation. He's the most explosive wide receiver in a draft that might be the deepest wide receiver in a decade. And if I was a betting man, I'd put my money on him to have the fastest 40 this weekend. But again, it all comes down to fit. Odunze won't be coming too far. Oh, dang. We got our first trade of the night, ladies and gentlemen. The Atlanta Falcons will be trading the number 8 pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Las Vegas Raiders will be drafting Michael Pennix Jr. from Washington. All right, I can cut the dramatics a little bit. So I fully believe that the Atlanta Falcons will be getting Justin Fields. I do not think it'll cost them the number 8 pick in the draft because respectfully, no one's trading a number 8 pick for Justin Fields. But it is going to cost them some draft capital that they're going to have to recoup. But as far as the Raiders, before I get to Michael Penix, Antonio Pierce went on to pivot and all but said, oh yeah, we're definitely trading up for a quarterback. And with the rest of the quarterbacks on the board, Michael Penix to me is the clear choice. Everyone's been overthinking this Michael Penix thing. Just follow me here. We have been scratching and hoping for other quarterbacks that are left on the board to show traits for things that Michael Penix has shown on film week after week after week for his last 2 seasons at Washington. Why are we overthinking this? He makes pre and post snap reads better than pretty much everyone in this draft. He has Hawkeye level accuracy and ball placement. I know CJ Stroud called himself a ball placement specialist last year. I think Michael Penix was in the class next to him. I know the age and injuries are quote unquote red flags, but one, go watch those injuries again that ended his season. There are more freak occurrences than it was him being fragile. Also, he didn't miss a single snap in 2 seasons at Washington. And yeah, he has some offensive linemen that are going to be NFL caliber, but he's also really good at avoiding being sacked. He may not be a tuck it and run type of guy, but he avoids getting sacked pretty well. And also, with the age part, it's Las Vegas. And something tells me they won't be too keen on bringing a 20 or 21-year-old into Vegas. That just doesn't seem like a recipe for success, especially for a team that's had, 4 players arrested in the time they've been there? At number 9, the Chicago Bears are full-blown sprinting this pick to the podium. They are taking wide receiver Odunze from Washington. The Make Sure Caleb Williams Succeed project is already in full swing. You get him the perfect complement receiver to DJ Moore. A bigger body, more possession receiver. Not that Odunze is slow, but he's more route runner, bring the ball in, sure-handed receiver, where DJ Moore is more of a elusive type receiver, more make a miss after the catch type receiver. Number 10, we have the New York Jets, and they'll be selecting offensive tackle Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. You got to protect Aaron Rodgers at all costs. Neither Dwayne Brown or Mekhi Becton, the tackles from last year, are under contract at the moment, and they should have no interest in re-signing either one of them. Olu is a plug-and-play blindside protector from day one, and you're not even going to have to think about it for the next 10 to 15 years. He is, to me, the best pure pass blocker in this draft. He has some deficiencies in the run game, which is why I had Joe Alt a little bit higher than him. But I think Olu is a great pick for the New York Jets. All right, next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings at 11. They'll be taking edge rusher Dallas Turner from Alabama. Danielle Hunter only signed a 1-year deal last year for a reason. And the Vikings will be a little bit too busy negotiating with Justin Jefferson, more than likely franchise tagging him, to worry about negotiating with Danielle Hunter again. So more than likely, they're going to need some more pass rush help. And you bring in Dallas Turner, who was super productive at Bama, even after Will Anderson left, and he was no longer playing Robin. He was full-blown Batman last year, and he'll be a great piece for Brian Flores' defense next year. Number 12, we have the Denver Broncos, and they're taking quarterback J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. This feels like a match made in heaven, don't it? Sean Payton wants a QB that is going to run his system the way he wants it, can take hard coaching, and will sacrifice his stats for the good of the team. How's about a quarterback that was coached by Jim Harbaugh, who spent his entire 27-1 career at Michigan doing just that? A lot of the traits that a lot of y'all see in J.J. McCarthy on film, I just don't see it enough for him to be QB4 like some of y'all have him, but I think the Broncos getting a pick. He'll be able to run that Sean Payton system really well. All right, the Atlanta Falcons, after trading back with the Las Vegas Raiders, they are drafting edge rusher Latu from UCLA. I apologize if I mispronounced the name. Samoan names are kind of my blind spot, so apologies in advance to all the Samoans that will be in this draft because there's a lot of them. This man walks around with a Batman utility belt of pass rush moves, and he is not afraid to use them. Led the country in pass rush win rate at 40.7% in true pass set situations last year per PFF. 4th in sacks with 13. The year before, he had 10.5. This man has a severe hatred for quarterbacks that is going to translate on the next level. And at 6'5", 270, it's going to translate in the run game as well. If you don't have time to do a full film breakdown on my man Laiatu, just go watch the USC game, and he gave Caleb Williams nightmares. Raheem Morris is not going to be able to resist a player with this many skills this early into his career. I know the medical concerns, the red flags, quote unquote, is going to give people some pause, but somehow he came out the medical red shirt, the medical retirement, whatever it's called, a better player with more skills. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what he was training. Maybe he was watching Bruce Lee movies or something, but he came out with more moves. Number 14 overall pick, we have the New Orleans Saints, and they'll be taking offensive tackle Taliese Fuaga. Again, I hope I said that right. Apologies to all the Samoans if I didn't. If you can't move off Derek Carr, you might as well keep him upright. And oh boy, will this guy help. When I'm breaking down this film, I just wrote out the word nasty in all caps because, oh boy, this man's punch. This man packs a punch that'll make Tank Davis jealous. At 6'6", 335, this man can move. And God help the poor linebackers and DBs that see him coming if he's coming on the second level because they stand no shot. And last note, because this is going to come up again later in this draft. So stereotypes are usually a bad thing. Stereotypes are usually harmful and we should try to stay away from them. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. But Samoans making incredible linemen is just objectively true. I'm sorry, it just is. There's a lot of them in this draft. And when I'm watching my man Taliese Fuaga, it just screamed out at them. Like, no big man should be able to move that fast and be that athletic. But it's possible because he's Samoan. It just runs in the blood. I don't know what it is. Number 15, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and they'll be drafting cornerback Terrion Arnold from Alabama, and this man got some dog in him. Oh my God. He started the season as Kool-Aid McKinstry's running mate, and he surpassed him by the time the year was over. He can play inside and outside corner, and he reminds me a lot of Sauce Gardner, the good and the bad. He has a tendency to get a little bit handsy, just a little bit grabby. He managed to get away with a lot of it on the lower level, and I don't know if he'd be able to get away with as much as Sauce does on the NFL. And he does have a tendency to get a little too aggressive. I've seen him on film get caught on some double moves and comebacks that little concerning, but in the words of Mike Tomlin, I'd much rather have a player that I have to say calm down than sick him. So I think he'll be fine. A little bit of coaching will fix him right up. Number 16 overall pick, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and they'll be taking edge rusher Jared Verse from Florida State. Now, Jared Verse is the most appropriately named player in this entire draft because he is the most versatile down lineman in this whole draft. He's not just an edge rusher. He can spot on the defensive front. From the 7 technique, put him at 0. Put him whatever gap, A, B, C, wherever you want to put him, I promise he'll prosper. And thank God Seattle's getting him at this spot because they need help at every single spot on the defensive front. Mike McDonald's creative at generating pressure, and he was able to make a lot happen with a undermanned-ish front with the Ravens last year, but let's not test our luck on this one. 17 overall, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they'll be taking offensive tackle J.C. Latham from Alabama. Trevor Lawrence got his head kicked in last year. I mean that literally, because he ended up with a concussion. Next week it's the knee, then it's the ankle, then it's the shoulder. And now he's going to be a $280 million man. Protecting him is probably a good idea. And J.C. Latham is a great addition. Now, he's a much better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. That's more so because he's so damn good at run blocking than it is because he's bad at pass blocking. And also, as much as I love Jalen Milroe, I think him not being a drop back type quarterback made JC look a little worse in pass coverage than he actually is. Because when he does get on people, God, he has absolute vice grips his hands, just full blown. You ain't going nowhere. You're locked in for life. They drafted Anton Harrison last year, who more than likely they'll be moving to left tackle, which is great because JC's more of a right tackle anyways. Number 18 overall, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and they'll be taking Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. Oh man, you telling me T. Higgins and the Bengals are having some contract issues? If only there was another tall, deep threat that they could... Oh, wait, here he is. They could easily go tackle here, but this tackle class is so deep, I think they'll be able to wait around and grab another one. But Brian Thomas Jr. is easily the best one-to-one replacement for T. Higgins they'll be able to find in this draft. And there's the LSU connection, obviously. This one's easy. 19 overall, we are with the Los Angeles Rams, and they'll be taking cornerback Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Sometimes versatility can be top when you have a player that does one thing incredibly well. Nate Wiggins is a shutdown outside corner. That's what he is. That's what he does. Don't ask him to do shit else. Don't ask him to play in the box. That's not what he does. Don't ask him to play in the alley and defend the run. That's not what he does. He's good in press coverage. He already has a good jam technique. Rarely catch him out of phase. Has great recovery speed for off coverage. Can play pretty much in any scheme. Great outside corner. Just don't ask for nothing else. Number 20 overall, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're taking defensive tackle Jer'Zhan Newton from Illinois. The thought of pairing him with Cam Hayward and or replacing Cam Hayward once he retires is too good to pass up. I know some people are thinking quarterback here, but this is the exact spot that they reached for Kenny Pickett a couple years back. I don't think they want to make the same mistake twice, and I think they go for a vet either by trade or free agency anyways. But Jer'Zhan is the best interior defensive lineman in this draft by quite a margin. Getting him at 20 is incredible value. I know people think he's undersized, but I think 2 out of 3 of the best interior defensive linemen will be quote-unquote undersized. Plus, I think with Aaron Donald and Ed Oliver, we learned our lesson as far as calling interior linemen undersized. And he plays way bigger than what he is. He is shot out of a cannon off the line of scrimmage. Whether he's shooting a gap or just straight up whoosh punching right into the offensive lineman, people go backwards when my man comes off the ball. Damn near every time. And he already has a toolbox of pass rush moves that you rarely see from interior defensive linemen, especially this young. Mike Tomlin is going to be salivating watching this man's film. Number 21 overall, we have the Miami Dolphins, and they are taking offensive guard / offensive tackle Troy Fashanu. Operation Protect 2 at all costs must continue, so let's go ahead and bring his Samoan brother in here to help this one out. If Armstead decides to call it quits, or he just continues to age as a player, keeps dealing with injuries, we got to bring him in. Or the fact they have 0 depth at guard right now, my man Troy can play guard too. It's a nice little 2-for-1 situation, and he can move. The Dolphins have a more finesse outside zone, a lot of counters, run scheme, so he'll be a great fit for them because he pulls a lot. He's great at getting to the second level. Great fit. And plus, he's coming from Washington, where he was protecting another lefty with Michael Pennix, so he'll be right at home. All right, 22nd overall pick, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll be taking cornerback Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. With Bradbury at a different phase in his career, I'm trying to be nice. Darius Slay's still good, but at 33, coming off an injury, how long is that going to last? And I know Ringo, they got him last year, but, you know. Now they can get the biggest winner from the Senior Bowl. And don't worry, the second biggest winner from the Senior Bowl is going to be coming up later in this draft. Just wait on it. There are certain things on a football field that give me the warm fuzzies. And outside of pancake blocks, cornerbacks that like to hit people, top of the list. And oh, buddy, this Quinyon fit the description. Any screen, flat route, swing, check down, anything in his general direction that you think you are going to throw behind or around the line of scrimmage, he's deleting it. Everything on his tape screams Philly. More so his 2022 tape. In 2023, they avoided him like the plague because lower level of competition. Which is why I'm so thankful that he had such a great performance at the Senior Bowl, because I didn't feel like dealing with those type of questions based on what I was watching on tape. I'm like, all right, looks pretty damn good to me. Went to the Senior Bowl. Translated against better competition. That's not an accident. Number 23 overall, we have the Houston Texans. They'll be taking edge rusher Chop Robinson out of Penn State. Do not let the numbers fool you. Chop Robinson has a sky-high ceiling. Pairing him with Will Anderson on the other side, with D'Amico Ryans coaching him up, I feel like that ceiling is going to be reached. He had a pass rush win rate in the 90s, and he don't even have no moves yet. He's like a teenager with a learner's permit that drives a Porsche. It's like, yeah, he's getting it done because he got a Porsche. He just got that right now. Imagine when he learns how to drive that motherfucker for real. Number 24 overall, we got the Dallas Cowboys, and they'll be taking offensive tackle Amarius Mims from Georgia. Now, Cowboys fans, I know that's not sexy. That's not the splash play, but hear me out. The last time y'all wanted sexy and took an offensive lineman instead, you ended up with Hall of Famer Zach Martin and the alternative with Johnny Manziel, one of which is still in the league. The other one was on Club Shay Shay last week. Do with that information what you want. Now for Mims, he was in and out of the lineup last year at Georgia because of injuries, but when he was in the game, this stat seemed fake until I went to go watch the tape, and I was like, yeah, checks out. On pure dropbacks, he allowed a 0.9% pressure rate. For y'all that failed algebra, for every 100 dropbacks, he allowed less than one pressure. Not sack, not hit, pressure. And he is a unit. 6'7", 340. Granted, he's a little raw. Gonna have to do some molding there. But there's not one but two Hall of Famers on the Cowboys offensive line for him to learn under. You got to take him if you're the Cowboys. Number 25 overall, we have the Green Bay Packers, who will be taking cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. So Kool-Aid's draft stock fell from, some people had him going as high as 10 at the beginning of the year. And now I'm seeing some people have him outside the first round. Now, I can understand not having him at cornerback 1. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't become a worse player overnight. He's still just as physical. At 6'1", just under 200 pounds, he didn't shrink. He only gave up 1 touchdown last year. He can play in whatever scheme you see fit. He has a high IQ because he's a Nick Saban DB. They all have high IQs. I've seen some scouting reports calling him slow, but outside of Adonai Mitchell, who makes everyone look slow, I didn't think he got burned at all last year. It's weird. But with Jair Alexander and the Packers' relationships, being on the rocks, let's call it that, they got to bring the corner in. I think Kool-Aid is the best available at this point. Number 26, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they'll be taking linebacker Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. Again, I don't give a shit about positional value. I think Edgerrin Cooper is a fantastic player. And more than likely, Devin White, Levante David, or both will be leaving in free agency, and they got to pick up the best off-ball linebacker in this draft. That is Edgerrin Cooper. Ideal size for a modern backer. I've seen him run step for step on seams. I've seen him spy quarterbacks on film. I am curious to see what he runs in the 40 because he looks like he's a more game speed than track speed type of guy. My main concern from him is also my favorite trait for him as a player. He is a see ball, get ball type guy. He is a heat-seeking missile. Once he makes the decision, he's gone. He's going to go for it. However, as much as I love the incredible highlights it gives us from time to time, I'm sure I've shown one of them if you watch in the video. You've seen at least one. In the league, he's going to get RPO'd and play action to death. But that's another reason I like this Tampa fit so much. Yes, Todd Bowles coaching him, who either A, will be able to coach him out of that, or B, will just have him blitzing all the time anyways. Number 27, we got the Arizona Cardinals, who will be taking Byron Murphy II from Texas. Jonathan Gannon came from Philly, where he had the luxury of having Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave the year he left. Now, obviously, Brian Murphy isn't either one of those guys yet. But go look at Arizona's defensive front right now. He's much closer to those guys than he is the Arizona guys. And the kid can rush the shit out the passer, too. In a division with Matt Stafford, Brock Purdy, and Geno Smith twice a year, you might want to get one of those guys. Think it would be useful. Again, the whole undersized interior lineman thing, I've already spoken about that with Jer'Zhan Newton, but he's no pushover in the run game either. And he has a motor as high as can be, especially for an interior lineman. He will get the job done. All right, number 28 overall, we have the Buffalo Bills. And Keon Coleman from Florida State will be the pick. Josh Allen will finally get a receiver that he can look eye to eye with. Keon Coleman is huge. He can high point all the YOLO balls that Josh Allen loves to throw so much. He was one of the first receivers I started doing evals on at like the beginning of the college football season. And someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember seeing him getting pressed like at all. Like corners tried to press him off the line of scrimmage. None of them succeeded. And I know there's been some people that knocked his route running and separation skills. And some of those critiques are fair, but follow me here. If I can out jump anybody, what the hell do I need to separate from him for? Like, who cares about your route tree? Throw the ball up. And having that large of a catch radius, when you have a quarterback that can tend to be a little reckless like Josh Allen, how is that not a plus? Number 29 overall, we got the Detroit Lions, and they'll be taking Cooper DeJean from Iowa. Listen to me. White corners matter, goddammit. Just because he could play safety does not mean he should play safety. He's more than athletic enough to play outside corner. He could return kicks if kick returns were still a thing. Hell, the Pistons aren't that good right now. He could probably play point guard for them if he wanted to. The kid's a super athlete, and he hits the shit out of people. You know how much that warms my heart. But again, that doesn't mean he should play safety. Let the white man play corner. He can do it. I promise. Number 30, we got the Baltimore Ravens, and they'll be taking offensive tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. Outside of Quinyon Mitchell, Tyler Guyton was easily the most impressive prospect I saw at the Senior Bowl. His tape says he's raw. His experience says he's raw. I think he only started 15 or 16 games at Oklahoma, something like that. But you look at the Senior Bowl, his pass blocking technique was already better than what you saw on film for most of the season. And plus, at 6'7", 330, dude is a fucking athlete. And as raw as he is, let's just say he's way too raw to start day one. He can't be a day one starter. Okay, cool. He's like this big old block of marble that you can chisel into a high-end Pro Bowl level stud because he has all the tools already. He already picks up twist stunts in tackle end games pretty damn well for someone who hasn't even started 20 games yet. He's essentially a baby. And if your offensive line coach is worth his weight in shit, he's going to watch that film and say, that guy, I can turn him into a star, I promise. If you can't tell by my excitement, he's my favorite prospect in the draft. I love watching Tyler Guyton film. 31 overall, the San Francisco 49ers will be taking cornerback Enos Straw Jr. from Missouri. Now, this could easily be best tackle available. This could also be trade back for whoever loves Bo Nix at this spot. We'll get to Bo Nix shortly. But I went best corner available. He's more of a man corner than a zone corner, but he definitely has the tools and the IQ enough to be able to make the transition. And I don't know what type of defense they'll be running next year in San Francisco. They haven't hired a defense coordinator yet. Plus, again, I'm going to keep saying this. Cornerbacks that like to hit people warms my heart. And, oh, buddy, Enos likes to hit people. I think he was a linebacker in his last life. Honestly, I think if he never catches another pick a day in his life and just gets to hit the shit out of receivers, I think he'll be perfectly fine. All right, last pick of the first round, Kansas City Chiefs, Adonai Mitchell from Texas. Look, the Chiefs receivers were dog shit all year long. There's no way around that. They also just won a Super Bowl. Two of those things can be true. You got to give Rashee Wright a true running mate, and you got to give Mahomes a real deep threat. And I think Adonai has top flight speed. No one's Tyreek Hill fast, but he makes up for it because he's about, 7 inches taller than Tyreek Hill is. I think he's a legit 6'3", 6'4". Tyreek Hill's like 5'10". And he's an incredible route runner for 6'4". Really good after the catch. He's got a lot of CD Lamb comps, and I'll call them fair for now because he was making Big 12 defenders look foolish last year. Very similar to what CD Lamb was doing to him. And under Andy Reid, I think he can flourish and develop into a full-blown superstar. All right, so before we get to the prospects I left off, I want to run through every single pick just to give us a quick reminder. All right, pick 1 through 10, Chicago Bears will take Caleb Williams. Washington Commanders will take Jayden Daniels. New England Patriots will take Drake Maye. Arizona Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. Los Angeles Chargers, Brock Bowers. New York Giants, Joe Alt. Tennessee Titans, Malik Nabers. Las Vegas Raiders by way of trade with the Falcons, Michael Pennix Jr. Chicago Bears, Odunze. New York Jets, Fashanu. Minnesota Vikings, Dallas Turner. Oh, wait, my bad. I went all the way to 11. Haha. 12 through 20. Denver Broncos, J.J. McCarthy. Atlanta Falcons, Latu. New Orleans Saints, Taliese Fuaga. Indianapolis Colts, Terrion Arnold. Seattle Seahawks, Jared Verse. Jacksonville Jaguars, J.C. Latham. Cincinnati Bengals, Brian Thomas Jr. Los Angeles Rams, Nate Wiggins. Pittsburgh Steelers, Jer'Zhan Newton. Miami Dolphins, we're going 20 to 30. Philadelphia Eagles, Quinyon Mitchell. Houston Texans, Chop Robinson. Dallas Cowboys, Amarius Mims. Green Bay Packers, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Edgerrin Cooper. Arizona Cardinals, Byron Murphy II. Buffalo Bills, Keon Coleman. Detroit Lions, Cooper DeJean, White Corners Matter. Baltimore Ravens, Tyler Guyton. And the last 2 picks of the draft, Enos Rackstraw Jr. for the San Francisco 49ers, and Kansas City Chiefs rounded out with Adonai Mitchell from Texas. Now, the most notable omission from this first round is Bo Nix. I'm just not high on Bo Nix, y'all. I'm sorry. Bo Nix was in college when I was in college. I'm almost 30 in the next couple years. And it'll be one thing if it was a Michael Pennix situation where he got extended because he kept getting hurt. That's different. He got extended because he was bad. And this was the first year where he was NFL level good, and it was because he was running a limited system. So a lot of people are higher on Bo Nix. I tend to trust Joe Klatt in his opinions a lot more than I do other draft analysts because he watches these college players on a weekly basis. Joe Klatt from Fox, he does the announcing with Gus Johnson for whoever doesn't know who Joe Klatt is for whatever reason. And he's so much higher on Bo Nix than most people are, but I just don't see it, y'all. I just don't see it. But more than likely, I'll be wrong. And somebody will, if somebody likes Bo Nix enough to take him in the second round, they're going to trade up into the first round and go get him. I just don't know what team that would be. I don't know. Just not seeing it. But thank you so much for listening to this week's edition of the Kev BKA Beloved Show. A lot of hard work went into that mock draft, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Catch y'all next week.